The Nintendo DS is one of my favorite party game consoles, which is a really weird statement to make when my go-to multiplayer games are Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver and Brain Age 2. I love multiplayer on the DS because its hardware introduced so many new ways games could be designed. With its 2 screens, stylus, and built-in microphone, every player had their own unique perspective, and it all blended together in a way that revolutionized the party game genre. It was the perfect time to bring Mario Party to a handheld. Up to this point, Mario Party has made 2 attempts at a portable experience. Mario Party Advance was a single-player campaign where multiplayer was possible with a lot of stipulations, and Mario Party E was a frankly fantastic card game where the video game elements were the worst part of the game. Mario Party on the Game Boy Advance just wasn't feasible without making a lot of concessions. But history would soon be changed with the introduction of the Nintendo DS. This bad boy was the missing link between mankind and prosperity. With the processing capacity of a government supercomputer and DS download play, oh yeah, your marriage was getting saved and your friendships destroyed. Mario Party DS is a portable Mario Party with 5 game boards and 73 minigames, extra modes up the wazoo, and no cut corners. This is a game equal to its TV console counterparts. But just because DS has all the ingredients for a top-tier entry, how well does it execute matching the others with its subpar power and use of the hardware's features to create a novel party game? That's what we're here to find out. Before I can even start talking about what makes Mario Party DS different from its predecessors, we need to go over the story, because this time around, everything, and I mean everything, is themed around the plot. 5 sky crystals fall into the Mushroom Kingdom, and one of them happens to land in Mario's back pocket. So he shows it off to the gang like his mom just bought him a new tech deck, and Kamek shows up to invite them to Bowser's castle. Bowser steals the crystal, shrinks everyone, and yeets them off to suburban North America. Thus, the entire game takes place from a miniaturized perspective. And this is such a cool gimmick for a Mario Party game. With a little creativity, there's an endless pool of ideas to make minigames from. One has players dodging massive soccer balls pelted by a Goomba, and another you're getting chased by a Dyson vacuum cleaner. There's a bumper ball minigame where everyone surfs on bars of soap, and a sled racing game in the tracks of a toboggan. This whole game feels like the developers looked around their house and imagined a tiny little Mario walking on their meat, or plonking the keys of their baby grand piano. For a team that's been churning out this franchise annually for a decade, this must have been one of the most fun games to make. And besides that, the story mode has full-ass boss fights after every board, and they're, dare I say, better than most boss fights in traditional Mario games. They tackle different genres, are somewhat challenging, and are a bit more complex than your normal minigames. Hammer Bro is, Simon Says, like this Kamek duel is an auto-scrolling shmup, and it's like one of the best minigames in the series. Unfortunately, the context is that we're rescuing an old man he turned into a book and put into a jar. Kamek residue is the only reason it can fly. The Bowser fight, oh my god, the best final boss. I know the bar is low, but this puts Mario 64 and Sunshine to shame. The guy turns himself into a mega block tornado. Completing each board and defeating their boss rewards the crew with fragments of Sky Crystal, and once all 5 are assembled, they create a Nintendo DS. By the way, this is Bowser Jr.'s debut, who doesn't do anything but dance on Koopa Kid's grave. And the last interesting tidbit is that Dry Bones got power skill. Now he can solo Donkey Kong with his powers of petrification. Somebody stop this man. Mario Party DS has one of the most volatile metas yet. Items are back, orbs have evolved, Bowser spaces returned to their former glory, hidden blocks were revived and can now take stars, and one small change to shops flips the entire game on its head. Items make their grand return for the first time since Mario Party 4, and the selection is very basic. But due to the game's smaller maps, DS gets away with it. There's mushrooms, a warp block, plunder chest, and magic lamp, and it surprisingly works well. Movement's always been an integral part of game boards, and by making all the items revolve around that mechanic, it accelerates gameplay in a way we've never seen before. And that's largely because this time around, you can buy as many items as you want while visiting a shop. Absolutely nothing is stopping you from buying 3 gold pipes and using them back to back, and even less is stopping you from buying 66. And they want want you to fill your inventory because items are the cheapest they've ever been. It kind of breaks the meta because shops put you at such a massive advantage. And for the first time ever, when I analyze the boards, one of the things I'll be looking at is if the shop is in a good spot. Like, I can't understate how powerful they are. You will literally lose from ignoring the shop because every time you stop here is a chance to load up on gold pipes and guarantee 3 stars. On a few occasions, I was throwing team minigames just to prevent my opponents from having the funds to make these purchases. Shops are so influential that it's not uncommon for a round to end with more stars in play than turns in the game. Coins and stars are the most valuable they've ever been. And what further supports that claim is the introduction of hexes. Hexes are a streamlined version of orbs that simplifies them to their absolute extremes. And unlike items, these are only acquired from passing a hex space on the board. You got some that steal coins, others take stars, they'll trade coins between players or let you swap spaces, and coin and star blocks give away free loot. It's a small selection, but they work harmoniously within the ecosystem. In the past, coin stealing was just a minor inconvenience, but in a gold pipe shop meta, losing 20 coins can actually change the results. And with DS's small boards and lots of stars in play, star stealing hexes can shuffle things around. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Koopa Troopa orb in 6, but dropping a space switching hex right before the shop is what these things were made for. And unlike how useless the coin block capsule was in Mario Party 5, the coin and star block hexes are way more worth using because you may be looking at 30 coins or 3 stars from landing on these. Having both items and orbs in one game is a match made in heaven. Before this review, my recollection of the meta was that items were significantly better just because the gold pipe is obviously the best item in the game. But hexes are, in some ways, a countermeasure to that power. They still heavily rely on luck, but the effects are arguably better if everything goes your way. Like I've been totally saying, DS's small boards are the actual game changer, because having so few spaces empowers items and forces interactions with hexes more frequently. It's cool how I've been praising past game single player modes for including smaller boards, and to finally have a game with those in conjunction with a regular set of rules, I've never felt more supported by my convictions. And another addition that takes advantage of these board sizes is the new friend space. Land here to earn 5 coins and give 5 to your favorite player. But during the final 5 turns of the game, they all turn into duel spaces. And what makes these so good is that they're evenly positioned. So every turn, you'll always have a 10 or 20% chance of landing on these. Duels once again use a roulette to determine what everyone wagers. But this time, it's spun before the duel, and options like nothing are gone, and 2 stars are more common. And I really like these changes. Duels are the most important they've ever been, and the final 5 turns is like whacking a piñata against the richest players. Everyone has a chance to beat them up and spread the wealth around, and the frequency of duel spaces means first place will be up against a gauntlet of competition. Gold pipes may dictate the game initially, but duels have just as much influence. It definitely puts skill at the forefront, which makes DS less beginner friendly. All these changes to the rules makes the game very temperamental, and that's in large part due to DS being a portable Mario Party. That's why boards are so small and why the default number of turns is set to only 10. So star stealing hexes and gold pipes can be acquired much sooner, and the dual space lasting half the game makes it a much more important tile. DS is fine-tuned to play in short bursts on car rides or lunch breaks, and without that lineament, the game would be less exciting. Mario Party DS has 5 game boards, the fewest we've seen yet. But due to the limited hardware we're working with, it's an admissible offense. And once again, most boards have a unique set of rules to give them all variety. Wiggler's Garden is the classic beginner board, and shockingly the worst one in the game. And that's primarily because it's a victim of having a terrible shop placement. Imagine an old school map for the Nintendo 64 trilogy where Boo is at the end and you can only visit him once a lap. That's basically Wiggler's Garden, but replace Boo with a shop. So instead of engaging with board events and pass splits and having a good time, your entire modus operandi will be circling the perimeter and buying gold pipes. And I think this wouldn't have been such an issue if they made the shop more accessible. The board is this pretzel-shaped design with an inner and outer circuit where you can leave the outer ring at 3 different points, but only enter it through 1. It just so happens that the junction is right after the shop, making the inner loop mostly redundant. The happening events are all pretty good though, and they each revolve around flowers. Land in the mouth of a Venus flytrap will take 10 of your coins and turn you into an indigestible exoskeleton, but stopping on a warp flower sends you back to start and conveniently close to the shop. You can smack these bodacious bulb flowers a year in the club to make a lot of money, and the colorful ones also hand out cash, and then the boss of every map will appear in some way. Here, Piranha Plant shoots fireballs at anyone who stops near it. Nothing super game breaking here, but again, it's the basic first map. I think Wiggler's Garden had a lot of potential, but the simplicity of the board gets in its own way too much and rewards degenerate playstyles. If they just reversed this path split and moved the shop next to the Piranha Plant, I definitely would have been singing a better tune. Toadette's Music Room, coincidentally, is the best map in the game, with 2 shops, 2 hex spaces, path splits that don't inhibit gameplay, fun and game-changing happen events, and a new gimmick board from my favorite board in the series. This is a generic board that hones in on everything Mario Party DS is about. So the twist is that stars are replaced with music notes that sequentially raise in price, starting at 5 coins for the first one and increasing by 5 each purchase, before resetting after 30. And the shifting price makes a huge difference that inadvertently counters gold pipes, because it's smarter to use them when stars are their cheapest. So during more expensive periods, it's not a bad idea to hodl those and use the game's other items. Plus, if you've got the lead, not buying a 30 coin star is viable, since it prevents the market from flooding afterwards. And just like Pagoda Peak, which this map takes inspiration from, the price of the star can change by visiting a metronome, which simultaneously resets its location. And speaking of which, lots of instruments on the board can warp players around. The timpani launches players onto a random space in the room, the violin does the opposite and warps people to the player, and finally the French horn, which will send you either directly in front of the star or behind it. There's a piano here too that can reward players coins, and it's great practice for if you want to be the sad, lonely guy the grocery store hires to play music by the deli on Valentine's Day. If you couldn't tell, I love these events because they keep the game moving at an unpredictable pace. At any time, everything can get shuffled around and your game plan has to change. And by having super accessible shop and hex spaces, items are always in rotation, giving players more flexibility than relying on pipes. So with all these opportunities to move everyone around and every path split being useful, the whole board gets filled with hexes, making for a very active game. All those reasons make Toadette's Music Room one of the all-time greats. DK Stone Statue. Didn't they just do this? Can we talk about Nintendo and their erect Kong fetish? It's just so bizarre how we got 2 Mario Parties in 2007 and both of them have a DK statue board. Whoever idea this was must have been real proud of it. Or maybe they had 2 ideas for this board and decided, holy shit, 2 cakes. So in Mario Party 8, this was a generic board climbing 100 meters up. But this time, you're climbing on real-life Donkey Kong's rock-hard cock. They brought back the Mario Party 6 fair square rules, but without the day-night system to change the pace of the game, there isn't a ton of thinking required. The stationary star is always 20 coins, and when you visit it, you can buy as many as you want. So it doesn't really matter when you reach the star, since the payout never fluctuates. It's an underwhelming board that puts more stock in winning minigames, but there's still a few variables that can switch up the game. Some happening spaces cause a barrel to roll across the map, and everyone in their way will lose 10 coins. Being away from the pack greatly reduces your odds of becoming a pancake, so using dice to keep away or taking the lower path split allows you to avoid hemorrhaging money, and that junction is actually pretty important. The dangerous upper path gives access to the shop, which as I've said has less value because of the board's rules. So for once, I recommend going the other way, especially since its happening events are so much better. Dry Bones Coffin will blow you back to start or right before the star, which either way keeps you out of the barrel's line of sight, and it's not a bad way to stock up on hexes. And also down here is the Beehive, where you can easily snag a couple dozen coins. The other happening events aren't too terrible. Mixed in with the barrels are tight ropes that add a snakes and ladders rule scheme, and this random space lets you get some free dice. All in all, DK Stone Statue is a board with a lot of ideas that it doesn't know how to execute. But interestingly, there is one way to get some spicy rules. During the final 5 turn roulette, one of the events can reduce the price of stars to only 5 coins each, which gives players the option to save their money until the end of the game. On paper, it sounds good, since it's a high-risk strategy where dual spaces can destroy your entire game plan. But then I remember the gold pipe exists and can skip all that bullshit without any of the challenge. So this rule change that could have made the board more interesting brings us back to square one. And on the topic of this board and the 5 coin stars, I want to mention that Mario Party DS has achievements, which I'll talk about more later. but all of them are easy, low effort unlockables you can get from playing the game long enough. But randomly, they made one require buying 50 stars on this board, and it's one of the only achievements without a hint. So I think most people out there never got this trophy. I didn't get it until I looked it up for this video, but on the bright side, I've now 100%ed this game. Kamek's library is our obligatory island hopper, and to spice things up, they added the Mario Party 7 Neon Heights rules, and this is the most cursed combination of gimmicks they've ever brewed. Actually, there was a period where this was my least favorite board in the series, and while I still think it sucks, it's not nearly as bad as I remember. There's two different islands, and the conventional way to swap between them is to land on a happening space that warps you across the map. It's the same rules as Mario Party 2's Mystery Lands, so I'd be a hypocrite to complain. But the game is actually generous about giving players options. For starters, you can choose which direction you'll travel, and the larger island has 2 warp zones, so landing at these books isn't entirely a death sentence. Plus, both islands have a shop, so there are plenty of opportunities to cross the border with warp blocks and gold pipes. I think what made me hate this board so much is that the computer players are allergic to buying warp blocks, so if the star is on one island and everyone's on the other, the whole game falls into limbo temporarily. Besides that, the board plays how you'd expect it to. They added a 2-way toll junction that costs 3 coins for some reason, but that price has never made a difference, especially when the lower island has these events where dusting a photo gives you 20 free coins. The top of the board is more interesting. Kamek's crystal ball places curses on its target, adding 3 halfway dice blocks to their inventories and switching their position with another player. And this is such a diabolical event, because right after these spaces is the Constellation Orb, where players stopping here can win a star, gold pipe, or 30 coins, making it a perfect place to use those halfway dice blocks. You just gotta hope you aren't teleported to the lower island, and this circuit can be a great place to try and farm some stars. Fortunately, this strategy won't break the game, since every lap around risks warping with books, Kamek, and problematic jars, and the odds of getting a star or gold pipe here are low. Plus, jars are more likely to spawn on the lower island, and you got the shop to buy more reliable gold pipes, so spending too much time up here is dangerously risky. Overall, Kamek's library is a board I've severely overlooked as a kid, but that's largely because the comms are so stupid they ruin the flow of the game. You'll only really enjoy this map with a full lobby of humans, and let's be honest, you still aren't going to enjoy it. Bowser's Pinball Machine is the finale board, and I kinda like this one. I mean, it's a legal requirement to enjoy pinball-themed levels in video games since they're rare biomes, even though pinball fucking sucks. And I think Bowser's Pinball Machine captures that vibe immensely. This is a map where everything can go your way and you'll get a new high score, but sometimes playing here is like watching your balls slip through the paddles, and it makes you want to kill yourself. And for a Bowser board, that's all you can really ask for. So surprisingly, this map uses the classic rules with no unique gimmicks, but the board events rely on luck and gambling so much that it changes how you'll play. Like a pinball table, you'll be zipping all around and trying to spend as much of your time in the back, because it's the safest area and stars love to spawn here. But the longer the game goes on, the more dangerous it becomes, because there's a hex space here and the back is a perfect place to set them, making this area a mosh pit of chaos. And without using items, the only ways to escape here are to land on a happening space that sends you back to start, or to take the only exit that has the most evil event in the series. These 3 happening spaces send its victims right into the Bowser Zone, a 5-space stretch where stopping here takes all your coins and all your stars, a 50% chance of throwing you out of the game. Mathematically, the odds are unlikely of getting both of these events, but it definitely can sway you from ever taking the path. Like, I literally would not walk here without a gold pipe or warp block as a get out of jail card, because the risk is too great. But you might find yourself wanting to land here, because the journey to the Bowser Zone has a small chance of actually sending players to the Star Zone, where they can earn a few stars. It's not a location to plan your strategy around, but as a Hail Mary option, it's kinda hype as fuck. Besides those ways to get a bunch of stars, Bowser's Pinball Machine also likes to bloat its economy with coins. Entering the back of the board lets players spin a wheel to earn a bunch of money, and right before the Bowser Zone is a roulette where you can wager them in a timing minigame. Did you know this is the easiest way to get 999 coins in any Mario Party? Bowser's Pinball Machine giveth, and Bowser's Pinball Machine taketh away. Yeah, that's kinda why I like this board. Cruel for the hell of it in a way that feels fair, while simultaneously not even being remotely fair fair at all. And despite having 2 maps I really enjoyed, Mario Party DS is a pretty mid-entry for its boards. I don't think any of them are necessarily bad, but the duds are so unappealing that it overrides my feelings about the entire compilation. There's a chaotic game here with the unique shop rules and combination of hexes and items into one single entry, but I wish we could have seen these ideas pushed further with the Mario Party 3 items and Red Orbs too. It's still very impressive for a handheld Mario Party, and as a game I played frequently on road trips, I've had a lot of fun with this mode. Mario Party DS has one of my favorite minigame collections in the series, and just about every time I've loaded up this game has been to play the minigames for an hour. They take me back to my Mario Party 2 and 3 days, where I would play the same games 10 times in a row without getting bored, and I think that's largely due to the Nintendo DS's hardware and just how fantastic of a job the devs did using its unique features to design minigames. Like, easily the best new gimmick is the touchscreen, and they came up with so many cool ways to create games with this thing. You've got your run-of-the-mill tap on the screen to select something games like Penny Pinchers, but they've evolved the concept like clicking and dragging to parse through candy and Sweet Sleuth, and racing your opponents to be the first person to tap something and Star Catchers. Drawing is a goldmine for minigames. Double Vision is just tracing, but I will never call this a flop. Trace Cadets is the speedrunning version. You can slide the stylus fast to simulate a button masher and rail riders, draw around wandering Goombas while dodging Bob-Ombs and Goomba Wrangler, writing circles on your screen simulates spinning a hammer throw and cherry go round, and the speed you make your circles affects the tempo of your music and Call of the Goomba. Most of the touchscreen minigames are unbelievably fun, and as a left-handed person, I also have to commend DS for its accessibility. So many games let you use the D-pad or the face buttons to allow players to draw with whatever hand they want, which is so awesome to include. One of my nitpicks from the Nintendo 64 trilogy is how I need to awkwardly cross my wrists in games like Handcar Havoc, Abandoned Ship, and Eats a Pizza just to have a chance. Mario Party DS never makes me feel like I'm playing at a disadvantage. And besides having a touchscreen, the Nintendo DS has 2 screens, which opens up new avenues with game design. Kinda. Most many games use the second screen to display a map or show everyone's scores. This one's a JPEG of clean plate. Some games use both screens to extend the camera, but don't expect any earth-shattering ideas that will make you flip your eyes back and forth like you're fighting the urge to not stare at someone's disgusting rotten teeth. This is a Mario Party after all, not whatever the fuck I just described. On another note, Mario Party DS doesn't just have 2 screens. It has 8. Every single player has their own unique perspective, and so many games take full advantage of this. Split screen has been a thing from the beginning, but for the first time, screen peeking's off the table. So a memory game like Dress for Success can comfortably be played without cheating, and a first-person game like Camera Shy can be completed honorably as intended. That being said, Mario Party DS missed a lot of potential here. Ironically, the second screen being a map so often debilitates the purity of split screen. But at the same time, in most of these games, I'd rather there be a map so I can gauge how well I'm doing. I don't think there's a perfect way to use all these screens together without there being some kind of drawback. So looking at things as they are, I'm pretty satisfied. And the gimmicks aren't over, because the Nintendo DS has a built-in microphone. It's nowhere near as impressive as the microphone games in Mario Party 6 and 7, but if you enjoy blowing for 5 seconds straight and rocking a blue steel on the bus, click add to cart. Yeah, I'm never thrilled to get these. Short Fuse is a cool evolution of Honeycomb Havoc. The others aren't that fun. And then filling out the rest of the roster are the normie button games we've come to know and love. Domino Effect is my favorite minigame in DS, and I can't believe it took 10 games to finally get this idea. Pedal Pushers is another gem, though I've always wondered how fair it actually is. Hanger Management is a great cooperative racing game. Parachute Gallery is yell at your friends fun. There's platforming games like Cyber Scamper, Dust Buddies, and All Geared Up to scratch my jumping minigame itch. Get the Let Out is the obligatory button masher, except the AI is freakishly impossible to beat. That's literally the only one I don't like to see. Mario Party DS's minigames are that good, and the only complaint I have is the lack of original duel minigames. Mario Party 8 started this trend of reusing free-for-alls and 2 vs 2s as duels, but at least there were some unique duel-only minigames in the selection to keep things fresh. DS has 0. It especially sucks because the frequency of duels in this game means there's a good chance you'll see a couple duplicate free-for-alls and duels. Actually, I had Boogie Beam show up back-to-back on my my playthrough. That's literally the one cardinal sin a Mario Party could commit. And Mario Party DS made it so easy to happen. Decathlon is back with a great selection of minigames, and I actually got to play this with my sister and cousins once, like the last time all 4 of us were together before life took over. Somehow we accumulated 4 DSs before I got a hold of 4 Wii remotes. I'm just grateful that everything can be played with only 1 copy of the game. And speaking of DS Download Play, there's 2 special modes exclusive to local multiplayer for some reason. Pen Pals is a 2 versus 2 mode where one team needs to trap the other in boxes they need to coordinate to draw. It requires a lot of luck and communication for either team to win, and I wouldn't mind seeing more modes like this in the future. Similarly, Desert Duel is also pensive and luck driven. 2 players roll die to run around a board and claim tiles for points with an additional goal of landing on undiscovered spaces where extra dice can be unlocked and stars can be collected for permanent points. I wasn't playing DS side modes outside of the Decathlon too often, but if this one was 4-player and available in the base game, it's interesting enough that it might have been in my rotation. That free time was instead spent in the puzzle menu, where remakes of puzzle minigames from 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 can be found, all with new endless modes to play for high scores. These are minigames I hardly touched on their console counterparts, but having them in one spot made them perfect to boot up on car rides. I especially like that Mario's Puzzle Party reuses the 90s renders of the Mario crew, and while Toad wasn't playable in Mario Party 3, they created a new graphic just so he could fit in. DS also has its own puzzle game, unlocked from the story mode called Triangle Twisters, which uses the touchscreen. As a kid, I never got into this one because the controls are frustrating and the rules are confusing, but revisiting it today, everything magically clicked and I had a good time. What's also unlocked on the story mode are badges and trophies of the playable characters. Like I said before, Mario Party DS has a lot of collectibles, basically combining the story mode gubbins from the classic era with the board-related figures from the Orb era. And I actually bothered to 100% this game, which isn't quite as simple, since you need to beat the story mode with every character, interact with every happening event 3 times, play all the extra modes alone for several hours, and the most time-consuming task is to earn 50,000 Mario Party points. To give you an idea how long that takes, one story mode playthrough is worth about 2,000. So I had to grind minigames against high-level comms to earn the remaining 34,000, all for a badge I don't even use. If me doing that isn't a testament to how good the minigames are, I don't know what is. But that's Mario Party DS, the first real portable Mario Party, and it set a pretty high bar. It's got some great boards, some really fun minigames, endlessly replayable extra modes, and enough bonus content to encourage revisiting the game hundreds of times. When I bring my DSs around for social gatherings, Mario Party is always a must-play, and like I've been saying, it was perfect for car rides. As a portable game, it is designed so perfectly to play in short bursts. No matter how much time you have, there is something fun to do. It's a fitting end to the Hudson era of Mario Party, a game that combines all the elements that made the series so great, while also innovating ideas in a complementary way. DS is a game with very few faults, and a wonderful title to conclude the company's legacy. Thanks for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a like to help the channel grow, and subscribe to get updates on my uploads as soon as they happen. But until then, I will see you all next time.